Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope you all are well. This is going to be a very interesting journey that we're going to go on for this particular video. And it's because it's tied to the smart city, smart agenda. And I have to try to bring this home to you before I bring you this last really important topic that I want to hit on that is tied to climate agenda and what everything is really all about. So I saw this tweet and it was really interesting. It took me down a rabbit hole. So, on the road or on this journey, I found a lot of things that will be helpful to us as Black people. It can be helpful to everybody, but in particular to us Black people, because the things that they're talking about in the smart cities and with this sustainable agenda, which is really climate related, which is really, really, when you get to the crux of it, something completely different that we're going to talk about later on this week. But I got to touch on this so I can lay the foundation for where I'm going. This tweet said that the A2030, which I'm not going to say because of the censorship, A2030 land development allows government to seize polluted lands and move residents into smart cities. Now, y'all know what's going on with all the different things that's happening, the deregulation with the EPA, all of the chemical accidents, the hazardous um, situations across the nation and really across the world. It's in certain nations with very high populations and concentrations of people. And even some places that um, don't necessarily have large populations, but are like experiments. For various reasons, these things are happening. But anyway, this tweet says if the land and water supply is poisoned, you don't get to opt out. It's basically a land grab. So they have a picture here, and apparently, this is someone who received something in the mail. Not in the mail, but maybe somebody um, brought this to their home. It doesn't necessarily show like where it came from or anything, but there have been a lot of spills. So I want to point out something. I'm going to try to read this to you. So they have the name Caitlin, last name blurred out. The legal and rightful owner or occupant of the property, landowner, hereby authorize Norfolk Southern, its affiliates, subsidiaries, parents, contractors, associated environmental professionals, and assisting local, state, and federal agencies, including but not limited to CTEH LLC. And I will just say for the record, if you don't remember, this is that CTEH LLC is that company that was supposed to send those 5 environmentalists to Ohio, but the plane crashed, those people, and killed everybody. I forgot to say that. And any of their personnel collectively calling those people the monitoring team to access the property for air monitoring or environmental sampling. So this, you have to check a box for outside of the home or structure at the property, inside of the home or structure at the property. Landowner agrees to indemnify, release, and hold harmless, unified command, And we'll get into what unified command is, because there are two definitions of what unified command is. One of it is like local state government collaborative, like a public private partnership, and the other is like military. But the use of unified command is really weird here, and the fact that it's not really explained in this generic little piece of paper is absolutely scary to me. And how many people are going to sign this in order to get a check from these people so they can move on? So anyway, the landowner agrees to indemnify, release, and hold harmless unified command from and against any and all legal claims, including for personal injury or property damage arising from monitoring teams' performance of air monitoring or environmental sampling at the property on the date of the signature below. Landowner states he or she has the authority to grant access to the property and to sign this document. So, and this is a property access agreement and release. So whoever's living in these areas where these accidents are, when they come in to test the water and soil and the air quality and report back, the goal is to, just assess to determine whether or not it's safe to live there. So, anywho, let me shrink this back. See if I can get back to the original post. Okay. So, this post didn't have anything else. And then I was like, what does this even mean? So because the post was kind of vague, and I looked at this person's post, and they have a lot of good stuff there, but it didn't elaborate on this. So I was like, okay, this is a tidbit, this is a puzzle, and just a piece to the puzzle. So I needed to do some research. So I started looking up, some keywords. I couldn't find anything about seizing polluted land. I couldn't find anything about moving residents, um, water supply poisoned, or whatever. So I started doing some research on smart cities. So the next thing I found when I started looking was this um, website. Didn't have a whole lot on it. It just had shift frequency. Agenda 21 population forced to move into cities. So I started reading this just because it was just interesting, because I know about the agenda, but when you start talking about cities, then I immediately get to the smart cities. And then I just, bells went off. So I had to read it. So this article was written, or this blog post, I'll call it a blog post, was written July 3rd, 2013. So it goes to show you people have been following this stuff for a long time. We just haven't been paying attention. So this says, if you're unfamiliar with A21, please read this excerpt taken from the leading voice in the fight against sustainable development. So I clicked on this person's name, and I'm going to take you to her video and show you something that she says in a minute. But this plan 2.1 sustainable development is the action plan implemented worldwide to inventory and control all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all energy, all education, all information, and all human beings in the world. Now, haven't we been living this executed plan for the last 3 years? So when I read the first paragraph, I was like, okay, I need to pay attention. So here it says, have you wondered where these terms sustainability and smart growth in high density urban mixed use development came from? Doesn't it seem like about 10 years ago you'd never heard of them, and now everything seems to include these concepts? I agree. Is that just a coincidence that every town and every county and state and nation in the world would be changing their land use planning codes and government policies to align themselves with what? First, before I get going, I want to say that yes, I know that it's a small world and it takes a village and we're all one planet, etc. I also know that we have a government of the people, by the people, for the people. As cumbersome as that can be, and I won't say all the stuff that they have here. I will put a link to this if you would like to go to it, or maybe not. Then I would just say the name of the site is Shift Frequency. So take notes if you want to go there. We have a three-branch government and the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and self-determination. So here I'm gonna go down a little bit. Considering its policies are woven into all the general plans. Oh, well, let me go back. This is one of the reasons why people want to come to the US, right? We don't have a Tiananmen Square here, generally speaking. So I'm not against making certain issues a priority, such as mindful energy use, alternative energy sponsorship, recycling and reuse, and sensitivity to all living creatures. Considering its policies are woven into all the general plans of the cities and counties, it's important for people to know where these policies are coming from. While many people support the UN for its peacekeeping efforts, we'll have to think of a word for some of these names because I can't say them. Hardly anyone knows that they have specific land use policies that they would like to see implemented in every city, county, state, and nation. This specific plan is the Ununited Nations Agenda. You can see the number, Sustainable Development, which has its basis in communitarianism. By now, most Americans have heard of sustainable development, but are largely unaware of this Plan 2.1. In a nutshell, the plan calls for governments to take control of all land use and not leave any of the decision making in the hands of the private property owners. It is assumed that the people are not good stewards of their land, and the government will do a better job if they are in control. Individual rights in general are to give away the needs of the communities as determined by the governing body. Moreover, people should be rounded up off the land and packed into human settlements, smart cities, islands of human habitation close to employment centers and transportation. Another program called the Wildlands Project spells out how most of the land is to be set aside for non humans. The Ununited Nations Plan 2.1 cites the affluence of Americans as being a major problem which needs to be corrected. It calls for lowering the standard of living of Americans so that people in poorer countries will have more, a redistribution of wealth. Although people around the world aspire to achieve the levels of prosperity we have here in this country and will risk their lives to get here, Americans are cast in a very negative light and need to be taken down to a condition closer to average in the world. Only then, they say, will there be a social justice, which is a cornerstone of the Ununited Nations Plan 2.1 plan. Okay, so I'm not going to read any more of this because it's long, but I will, again, I recommend you going to um, this site and looking at it. So I'm not going to read anymore. The only reason that I'm citing this because I begin to do some more research to see if there was any truth to this. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's some random person wrote this and you shouldn't believe it. Well, I'm a random person and I write stuff all the time and I tell the truth, but because I'm not on the news or because I'm not a politician or because I'm not some famous person, it doesn't mean I'm a liar. It doesn't mean I'm a whack job. It doesn't mean I'm a conspiracy theorist. It just means I have different interests. I choose to write about things that appeal to me, that I feel like should be important to my people, but my people are so foolish and lack knowledge that they don't care. So, there are always going to be some people who are far ahead of the power curve. And this person was writing this in 2013, 10 years ago. I I didn't really pay any attention to it. I knew there was something about this climate change stuff that wasn't right, just didn't sit right with me, but I didn't have any clue that it was tied to this. So anyway, I clicked on the video of this woman that was mentioned here, Rosa. Her name is Rosa Corey. I can't pronounce her name. But anyway, she passed away. But she had a site that was really interesting. But I want to play a little bit of what she had to say in her own words. And then I'm going to take you someplace else about what is happening with this sustainable development. And I want you to understand when you hear these words, sustainable development, Green New Deal, climate change, climate agenda, there's something there. These people are trying to get someplace. They have been sitting on these plans for a long time, and this is the implementation phase. So,
because I'll tell you what, there is an overarching political and social theory behind all of this, and it's called communitarianism. Why don't you raise your hand if you've ever heard of communitarianism? All right, great, got some people. For the most part, we really haven't, heard of it. It's something that you don't really know about. And what it is that the individual's rights need to be subsumed or come below the rights of the community. Now, your first question, of course, is going to be, well, what are the rights of a community? We live in the United States. We have, we've got our Bill of Rights. That is a bill of individual rights, right? We are guaranteed the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are our unalienable rights, cannot be taken away from us. We were born with them. They're not granted to us by our government. But community rights say that the rights of the individual come below the rights of the community, that we're looking at whatever is for the greater good, whatever is for the total good of the community, comes above and beyond the rights of the individual, which means that every individual is at odds with the rights of the community. You are a threat to the community just by exerting and expressing your individual rights. And the reason I say that is because if you want to express yourself, and I'm not talking about anarchy here, we need laws, certainly. Not a lot of them, probably, but we do need some laws, right? It's like Thoreau said. He said, that government is best which governs least. And of course, he was an incredibly crotchety individualist and marched to his own drummer. And that's great. That's what we are, isn't it, as Americans? I mean, isn't that really what sets us apart in our minds from other nations? Which, we have to just get real here and say that we are just people. We're all people across the world, and everyone has, those basic emotions. But I think that we value our individualism here in the United States. And this is why communitarianism is such a threat to us. So when you look at it, I've got what I think is a great example of how to think about it. Let's say you've got two glasses, clear glasses on the table. One is full of water, and the other one is full of milk. The water is a republic. The milk is a communitarian state. Now we're going to take a clear glass pitcher and we're going to put it down here on the table, and we're going to pour both of our glasses into it. What do you have? It's not water anymore, is it? It's milky water. It's milk. And this is what happens when you subsume the rights of the individual into the rights of the community. You lose. You lose your rights as an individual. So there's the attraction to it, though, which is not, I mean, when you think about this, you might think of a perfect communitarian state would be Red China, communist China. The rights of the individual are completely subsumed into the rights of the greater whole. It's for the greater good, and that's what you're going to be doing, is always thinking about what works for the larger mass, for the greater good. You might think of Nazi Germany, in fact, because this was, everything for the fatherland. And there's an attraction that we have to look at in ourselves as individuals, as human beings, and say, what is that attraction we have to belonging, to needing to feel that we are part of something, to the detriment of our freedom and our liberty and our individuality?
Okay, so this is a very long video, but I'm not going to play it. I couldn't play the really good parts with y'all later in this video because I'm sure they would pull it. But anyway, she gets into talking about how them folks who are part of this agenda are using state and local and regional laws and plans to institute all of these different agendas or these different pieces that are a part of this plan 2030, which is really the end game for the plan 21. It's really convoluted, but I figured it out. It was not easy, let me tell you. By no means, it wasn't easy. But I recommend you strongly watching this video. She does a really good job of explaining what it's going to be like in these smart cities. If I can go find a piece where she talks about it.
You're going to lose your vehicle. You're going to have to go wherever it is they tell you to go. I don't know if you caught this, but it was just in the paper that I can't remember who it was, what senator said that, hey, they're worried about Amtrak. They want a no train list, no ride list for train. What does that mean? That means that if they have a no ride list for a train, like they have a no fly list, pretty soon they're going to have a no bus ride, and then you're going to have your papers, please. You're not going to be leaving the house without your ID, ever.
So again, make sure you watch this video. It's really good because again, this was done years ago, and here we are. These things are being rolled out pretty quickly now, and a lot of us didn't even know they existed, but they're a part of a plan, what they call sustainable development. So I want to talk about that. So I'm going to go to the next site, which is these people, the Ununited Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Agenda. So they have an agenda. And so I'm going to just go over here. They have 17 goals for their agenda. And I will put a link to this in the description, but please, 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 please make sure you look at this. It's so vital. So 17 goals, and I'm gonna just break it down to you. I'm gonna go over the goals. You all can just you know, take my 2 cents with a grain of salt. A lot of it's going to be sarcasm and humor, but I'm dead serious because this is just how I see things ending up. So, of the 17 goals, number one is no poverty. We won't be poor because we'll all have the same amount. So, you won't, it'll be everybody's poor, and then the rich people who are coming up with all this bull crap. Zero hunger. We won't be hungry because they will have killed everything that you could eat. They will have um, done what they can to ensure as many people as possible are not able to sustain themselves. You will be eating those green sticks on Soylent Green. You're going to be eating artificial burgers and whatever else the computer guy who knows all things and his friends at WEF tell you to eat. So it won't be hunger. You're going to eat. You just won't eat what you want to eat if you live because some of us not going to make it. Um, Three, good health and well being. That will come from the organization that makes the owl noise. They're in charge of the health and well being of the whole world now. They're going to roll out these passports and these lollipops and dictate, when we stay in the house. And, if you don't do these things, you can't work, whether or not you work. And then if you don't, they're going to have a place for you to go. You're going to go to the detention camp like they did in China. Quality education. As you can see, they are revamping education as we speak. You're going to learn how to be queer. You're not going to reproduce because reproduction is not allowed. Um, you're going to only learn what they tell you to learn because they can't have folks raising up and thinking they know stuff and want to be free. So they got to program your children to be slaves, and they got to kill off the parents who don't comply. Gender equality. As you can see, there is a targeting of men, in particular black men, because we tend to not stand for BS. Our men tend to not stand for BS. And an inclusion of women, in particular black women, because we are eager to help. It's just our nature. But what we're doing also is undermining the natural order of things. And what this gender equality business is, it is creating issues, providing a solution, and undermining the natural order of everything about these goals are unnatural, goes against the order of the Most High. Clean water and sanitation. They are going to control all the water. So you're not going to be able to get water. You're not going to be able to go to the bathroom when you want to. You're not going to be able to control any of the water. The city and local water will be controlled. It will not be clean. It won't be safe. And what you do get, you'll be glad you have it. Affordable and clean energy. As you can see, us transitioning to this lithium powered electric vehicles and LED lights and all these things, these new things that they keep creating. They want you to get away from gas. That's why gas stoves are bad. That's why fossil fuels are bad. They want you to use electricity because electricity is clean. Then they're going to be able to track you everywhere with that Internet of Things platform. Decent work and economic growth. We are all going to be poor and destitute. So you won't know what's decent and you won't be able to know about economic growth because all of it is a lie anyway. Everything they tell us is just a lie. So decent work, a lot of us won't be working because artificial intelligence is taking over our jobs. And as you can see in a lot of places, they are using as much, you know, as many products as they can to not have to pay people. So I don't know what type of decent work we're going to be doing, but trust me, it's not going to be much. industry, innovation, and infrastructure. They're going to want you to build up they're going to need construction workers because they're going to have to build up these high rise apartments and condos so they can stick people in them to work in these smart cities. So construction is going to be ongoing. They're always going to be developing the technology infrastructure and the smart city infrastructure to um, keep the people imprisoned. Reduced inequalities. Um, there won't be any reduction of inequalities because they're basically tearing down the West. They're going to blow it up. They're going to starve you to death. They're going to kill all the animals. They're going to make you unemployed. You're going to lose your house and your car. You're going to be destitute. You'll be desperate, and then you're going to need them. And they're going to do it to so many people, even rich people. I know people who think, "Oh, I'm safe. I got this, and I got gold. I got guns." That stuff ain't going to help you. They already got plans for everybody. They got a plan for everybody. They got a plan for everybody. I hope you went to go check out some of these plans they do have. They have plans for everybody. Sustainable cities and communities. Those are the smart cities where you're going to be under surveillance, the open air prisons. Yes, those places. Responsible consumption and production. That means they're going to control what you consume and what we produce. So they're already talking about, with the digital currency, that they're going to control what you buy and what you sell because you're not going to have no money except for whatever they give you. And the digital currency can be turned on and off. So that is how they're going to make sure you're responsible because they're going to control it. The only way they won't be able to control it is if you barter and do business with people you trust that and you create the items that have value to you all in that circle. But if you try to engage in this in other places in the smart cities, somebody gonna tell on you, you're gonna be gone to the pokies. Climate action. It's BS. But this climate action is dangerous because this is where the um, Sunday law is going to come in. I'll just say that. You're going to have a national Sunday law where you're going to have to rest on the Sabbath. Life below water. They're going to want to control the fish. They need to control all the stuff in the water if they don't kill it all. Whatever's there, they're going to need to kill it so that you can't have none. Because can't have y'all thinking that there's life outside of the soil and green sticks. Life on land. They want to control everything. They want to control the trees, they want to control the water, they want to control the animals. So they're going to control everything. Won't be anything that's just walking around all willy nilly and not controlled. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. This is a fantasy. It's just to make us think they're going to do something for us. But there ain't going to be no peace if you can't be free. We already know there is no justice with the Saxons. Sorry. And strong institutions. The way that they are building their strength is through deception and enslavement. So I don't know how strong an institution will be using those tactics. Lastly, partnerships for the goals. So, partnerships will be your local governments, state governments, politicians, business people, the public private partnership. That's why that even came to be a thing, is for this agenda. So, here I'm going to allow you to Um, I'm going to allow you to see. Let me read this. The 17 goals were adopted by all ununited Nathan member states in 2015. Now, keep in mind, they keep telling us by 2025, all hell going to break loose. This is why all hell got to break loose. And then by 2030, that will be the 15-year mark. So after you done caught hell, you done starved to death, you done burned up, you done survived nuclear war, EMP strikes, famine, not eating meat, drinking contaminated water, being corralled into smart cities, all that stuff. Then by 2030, they will have met their goal or close to it. Today, progress is being made in many places, but overall, action to meet the goals is not yet advancing at the speed or scale required. 2020 needs to usher in a new decade of ambitious action to deliver the goals by 2030. So you hear that? So y'all ain't dying fast enough. Y'all not changing y'all's behavior fast enough. We're not um, being dumb enough. We're talking too much, telling y'all too much, teaching y'all too much. So they got to crack down on us. All right. And here is a video of them talking about this stuff. Notice that the agenda between 2020 through 2030, the need for action to tackle growing poverty, empowering women and girls, and addressing the climate emergency. So notice there are nothing about men here, and it's a purpose because they don't want us to have men, because men will fight back and women will go along, and we will teach our children to do the same because we are always concerned about protecting them and not getting hurt, because we got to do whatever we got to do for our children. Men will be like, I'm not doing that. And so the goal is to eradicate as many men as possible or emasculate them so that they will not thwart the agenda. All right. So the last thing I'm going to go to is this site. It is called Local Governments for Sustainability. And this site, let me tell you what the vision of this is. This site is basically to build a sustainable urban world for all. It is the site that local, state, and national governments use to build sustainable cities, towns, regions, and an urban world. The commitment and strategic vision is our pledge to make sustainable development the model only make to make sustainable development the only model for development in the urban 21st century. And notice it's going to be the only model. You're going to keep hearing the only one, only one. Everything got to be under one umbrella. And by the time I get to this climate thing later on this week, it'll all make sense. Hopefully it will. But let me say this. It is tied to us, Yasharel, Israel, Black people, African Americans, and biblical prophecy. Say that. So at the ICLEI World Congress in 2018 in Montreal, local and regional leaders across the network released this commitment and strategic vision. 3 years later, at the virtual launch of the World Congress 2021 through 2022, hosted by Sweden, the network refined and recommitted to this vision. Five critical strategic and interlinked pathways serve as a compass to shape and manage our actions in a rapidly changing world. And you're going to keep hearing this thing about rapidly, rapidly, rapidly. Things are going to happen fast. And to transform our cities, towns, and regions. These five pathways: low emissions development, nature based development, circular development, resilient development, and equitable and people centered development serve as the basis of our urban development. So it's all sounding so good. They got the best pictures and everything. So let me go back. This is what I want to show you. Okay, so they have a publications library on this site. And let me just say this. If you don't go to your local um, county and city council meetings, district meetings, or whatever, you should be going to those because all the legislation that needs to be passed for these smart cities and these this surveillance and all these changes that are coming, if it hasn't already happened in your city or town, it's already if it hasn't happened, it is going to happen. So you really need to be aware. They're not going to make a public announcement because they understand people will cut up. So um, there won't be any agendas put out, but you need to be aware of the planning and zoning plans for your area, the redistricting, the sustainable development plans. You need to know all of that stuff because this is how you're going to find out what is going on in your particular area. This is how you fight back because once you find out about it, it's up to you to go out and say, hey, they're doing this. This is what this means for us, especially if you are Black, because we don't have any advocates for us. I can tell you right now, white people are going to go along with this because it is in words that they like to hear. It's in their language. It speaks to them, their spirit. They've been conditioned to go right along with this agenda. They don't understand what's coming. Israel, Black people, y'all can't afford to go along with this mess. Now, I will say what is going to happen is going to happen. But I would like for y'all to be awakened because, um, things going to get rough for us. And we can't sit around and act like, you know, things are just going to be rosy because they're not. All right, anyway, the last thing I want to show you is they have knowledge products. They have like 30 things on this site, and they have policy briefs, guides, and case studies. So here is this ambitious city promises, engaging citizens, driving climate action. So they have all these things just posted here. Prior pioneer to leader, deployment of smart LED street-based lighting. This is in 2018. Remember over the last 2 years, everybody was talking about them purple lights all over the place. And now we got these bright LED lights that shine and got the little thing on the back of them. We don't really know what that thing is. You can't tell if it's a camera or a sensor or whatever. But anyway, those things. Resilient cities thriving, the evolution of urban resilience. This came out in 2022. Look at the date when these things were published. Climate data to climate action. Data driven decision making to effective climate action. Creating a carbon neutral forest through citizens' climate action. Innovating in urban green and blue infrastructure. This is a webinar. Co-creating circular cities with local communities. City collaboration and job creation for the circular, cities. Guide on connecting green recovery and resilience in cities. Y'all remember AOC kept touting the Green New Deal, Green New Deal, Green New Deal. I know some of y'all love her, but I think she's a witch. But anyway, these people just come in out of the blue and they spew all these things. Yeah, these politicians are just devils. I don't care if it's your favorite one, they're just devils. City climate law, a legal framework for local action in the US. This is the one that y'all really need to get into because a lot of these plans that are being implemented had to have laws amended or added before they could do whatever it is that they're planning on doing. So you really need to read these things so that you can understand what's happening at the local level. Ecologistics Low Carbon Action Plan for Urban Freight, using data to support decarbonization of the city of Birmingham. I don't know which Birmingham. I think they're talking about Birmingham, UK. Yes. So a lot of these places are where they're talking about this stuff is where they are planning on implementing the smart cities first. Key data driven tools for integrated climate action in the city of Belgium. I think that's Belgium. And let me go to the other page. Climate finance decision tree making. Data driven decision making to support effective climate action. So there's just a whole lot of things here. And you see it happening on a global level. That's what makes this so sinister. So people all over the world, some places are, we just at different phases, but America, remember what that site said about America. Americans needed to be brought to their knees because we are, we're seen as obstacles to any of these plans because we are individualists. Um, we like excess. We're seen as the largest consumers and the biggest polluters in the world. One of the biggest polluters in the world. Um, Even though it's all made up, I won't say all of it is made up. A lot of it is made up, but there are other countries with more people who do more destruction. They're getting their share too, but we are the opposition because we protest, we fight. We've had civil wars, and they know we will do this again. So they had to find a way to trick you into not understanding what it is that you're doing, what you're supporting. But I just wanted to show you this that what's going on is not accidental. When I tell you it's a gradual, slow demolition to this place that they're trying to get us to, things are going to happen really fast because they got to get us to this 2025 goal in order for them to go back and assess what will happen over the next 5 years after the 2025, what will happen from 2025 to 2030. So, I'm telling you this because I want you to be aware. I'm not imagining stuff, I'm not pulling stuff out of my butt. I'm telling you what is happening. And for y'all, you know, palm colored people who nothing, don't believe nothing. I don't have to tell you, y'all co-signing your own enslavement. For black people, don't y'all be going along with these agendas. Get off of these trains, all this social justice and equality and all that language is used to get us to this place of communitarianism, to get us sold on these buzzwords and things that make us feel good and make us want to belong to these little groups like cult followers, and not really understanding that we are a part of this plan to get us to plan 2030. So I'm going to put the links to what I can put the links to in the description, but please do your own research. Please take the time to read. Don't think everything is going to be in the video. I had to read this stuff, and it's a lot of stuff to read. I also had I downloaded the actual agendas, the agenda 2-1 and the other one, plan 2030. I downloaded them. I'm still going through them, but there's so much stuff in there that we are experiencing today that I didn't have a clue about. So, if you care, if you live on this earth, you should care. If you live in a city, you definitely should care. If you live amongst a lot of black people, you should care because we're going to be targeted, and there's no way we're going to be able to navigate this stuff without doing our own due diligence. So I gave you a nugget. Do your own due diligence. Make sure you investigate this stuff. See what was coming, because a lot of stuff is coming. It's going to happen rapidly and suddenly, and you're going to be caught off guard. So please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to my Rumble and Odyssey channel just in case this stuff gets yeeted or taken down. At least you can get it from someplace else. Again, I will do a 2-part series on the climate agenda and what the real deal with this is and how it is tied to biblical prophecy and end time prophecy, because it's all connected. And if you are African American or Israel, you need to know that this is all about us. Everything that is happening is about us and what's getting ready to happen. So you don't have to have any fear. What you need to do is learn who the Most High is, pray, repent, seek forgiveness, learn as much as you can about biblical prophecy, where they told us we were Gentiles, you are Israel and the chosen people. So you need to go back and read that Bible all over again and look at what we did, look at the promises, look at the captivity, look at the liberation, look at the wealth, look at the destruction, just look at everything. And then apply that to where we are today and understand that evil knows its time is short. So they got to do everything they can to attempt to destroy us so that we can't cry out and seek the Most High and He won't come back and get us. Then they think they could just live on the earth forever and enslave people, finish destroying it and then go on about their business to the next thing. That's not going to happen. So we don't have to have fear. We need to have faith, but we also need to be knowledgeable. We need to have wisdom. We need to continue to seek knowledge, and we need to keep watch. And so this is a part of me keeping watch. I know what's happening, so I can change my language. This is one of the reasons why I backed off from all the social justice and the anti-racism and the equality and the um, egalitarian society and democracy and all, because at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. Two, it's not natural, especially not for us. And number three, I finally understood where it all was coming from and who was creating and where it would lead us to. So I had to bow out. So my language has changed, my stances have changed. And, if you're a wise person and you uh, evolve over time, then that should happen with all of us. But if you're a person who just does not pay attention and you look for, quick bits of information and don't take your time to delve into what's really happening, especially with something as complex as this, you will go with any doctrine anybody sets before you because it sounds good and it makes you feel good. So, I try not to be that person. I try to renew my mind and understand I don't really know anything. Everything that I've been taught was a lie. And so I'm trying to untangle the lies. And this is a part of that process. So this one tweet led me down this road to get to, you know, how these laws are being passed in cities and towns, regardless of whether they're urban or rural, so that they can get this agenda up and going by 2030. So beware, people. Just beware that we got alligators and snakes everywhere, and ignorance is not going to serve us well at all. So, you know, again, do your due diligence. And I know some people listening to this be like, oh, she's the biggest conspiracy theorist. It's end times. Of course, I'm supposed to keep watching, not be deceived. So I'm trying not to be deceived. Um, it's not that I think that everything is bad. I just understand that these people, them folks, know that their time is winding down. So we gotta really be on our toes. So with that said, y'all, please like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Please like the videos. For whatever reason, I'm getting a lot of views, but not a lot of likes. And the likes help the videos get circulated. And please share it on your social media. This may not be one for the faint of heart because it requires you to do some research. But please go to the description, look at these items, look at these websites, do your own research, especially if you live in a city. If you live in America, you need to be checking this stuff out because it's really important and it will help you, put another piece of the puzzle together. All right, y'all, I'm out.